Former Democrat President Jimmy Carter says he does not think there's any evidence that Russians changed enough votes or any votes in last fall's election to change the result. Senior political analyst Hume joins us with some thoughts on what appears to be a most unlikely political meeting of the minds. Good evening, Britt.
Hi, Brett. Well, it is interesting to hear former President Carter say that, but I think he gets at something that everything that Catherine reported may point to as well, which is that here these investigations they've been going on for the better part of a year now. The Mueller investigation, of course, is one that he took over from a previous investigator, and it's been going on for I guess now on 2 years or more. So we're way down the road here, and so far nothing has emerged that seems to point the finger definitively in any direction, and we certainly don't have anything that would say, as Jimmy Carter suggested, would say that the Russian attempts to influence the election made any meaningful difference. I think what we're looking at, Brett, is the possibility that none of this activity, which is now clearly being investigated in terms of both sides, made any real difference. That this has all been a tremendous media hullabaloo and series of investigations of things that don't amount to very much.
And clearly the tone of the stories covering the ones that we have received leaks in a number of different places never really had a big leak about collusion to begin with. Number two, they are changing the tone of the coverage as we go along here.
Well, we're seeing some coverage now. A long story, for example, in the New York Times today about how difficult the investigations are proving to be for the three committees in House and Senate that are looking into all these matters, and that they've hit. And you heard, of course, Richard Burr's famous comment quoted in Catherine's piece, where he says, they've hit a stone wall on the whole Fusion GPS dossier matter. So we're, and of course that seems there's been no indication that I've seen that would implicate the president in any way, except as a victim of that dossier. So this is a morass now. The end of it is not clear, and I guess everybody's looking to Robert Mueller, who may now be looking into at least some Democrats in the course of his investigation. So the idea that this is all going to result in some terrible cataclysm befalling the Trump administration, it seems to me, and the Trump presidency may be farther away than ever.
Going back to the coverage and going back to former President Carter, he said, "I think the media have been harder on Trump than any other president, certainly that I've known about." He goes on to say about the election, "We voted for Sanders, Bernie Sanders." And about President Obama, he made some wonderful statements, in my opinion, when he first got in office. Then he reneged on that. Pretty blunt. Some Democrats saying that he's trying to get a position to somehow negotiate with North Korea, but there's no evidence of that in this interview.
No, but these comments are obviously very unwelcome in Democratic circles, and of course, the one thing that any president may fear, or even in this case, former president, in terms of President Obama, is that some other former president would open his mouth and begin to say what he really thinks. I don't think this necessarily effectively exonerates anybody or implicates anybody. But it suggests that even within Democratic circles, there's more than one view of Hillary Clinton and President Obama both.
Very true. Britt, as always, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brett.